Thank you for joining today. With the help of Snappy Kraken, YCharts is going to be talking about 4 ways top advisors build brand recognition and grow client relationships. And I'm super excited to be joined today by Snappy Kraken's Diana Cabrices. Diana, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be here. It's a great day. Actually, I live in Denver, and today is our first day of snowfall for the season. For some of you, that might not be as great, but I'm excited. It's a good day, and I can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, and here in Chicago, we actually have a beautiful sunny day. So that's a blessing at the end of October for us too. So very nice. We're so glad to have everyone here with us today and to learn from Diana's expertise in advisor marketing. If anyone has questions for Diana or myself throughout the webinar, there's a little Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can ask any questions there. We may answer them as we go, but we will definitely have some time for Q&A at the end. So if you ask a question, do stick around to hear those get answered. Finally, a recording of the webinar will be sent to all attendees. But in the meantime, you can head over to the YCharts YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and you'll get notified as soon as we upload this in like an hour. We're usually pretty fast. So if you want that recording, that's the best way to get it. I'm going to go through our agenda very quickly here. So we're going to start with the current state of advisor marketing. Diana is going to talk about the importance of why you can't just set it and forget it, and some different tactics to simplify your marketing efforts and hopefully, make them more effective at the same time. We'll walk through example campaigns, some great campaigns other advisors have run, and Diana has some learnings from those. And then we'll get into that Q&A. So without any further ado, I will pass it off to Diana.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Connor. I'm excited to dive in. And I wanted to start with the foundation, right? What is the current state of advisor marketing? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the trends, the common threads that we're seeing? And what are we really doing about it? What are we doing to help advisors get better with their brand and their marketing and their reach and the experiences that they create? I'll start with just a few characteristics we know that create an environment where advisors are blending in with one another. Everything that you just saw in that video, right? We're starting to look the same, talk the same, use the same terminology, the same complex jargon in all of our marketing. And it just causes us to not stand out. And we know in today's world, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, with all of the digital inundation, we absolutely must be standing out. It's the only way we're going to get noticed online. In fact, there is more content being published online today, email, social media, ads, images, notifications, posts, than there ever was in content shared in the first 5,000 years of human history, which is pretty big. So what advisors end up doing is they start copycatting each other. They subscribe to canned content libraries. They are spending averse in the world of marketing because it is just so unknown, and it is such a different part of the brain when you're talking about getting creative versus left brain financial advisors who love numbers and data and analytics. So then we end up not doing much at all, right? We stop communicating as frequently as we should, especially with our clients. We stop targeting our audience and putting our brand in a place where people can emotionally connect with it. In a world where emotions are the driving factors of decision. In fact, emotions drive 90% of decisions. If we're not available, if we're not there connecting emotionally with prospects and clients, then we're missing out on opportunity. And Connor's actually going to talk a little bit more about this from a data standpoint, based on what we've seen with advisors and the lack of communication with their clients and their prospects.
Yeah, that's right, Diana. So talking a little bit about that inundation or fatigue on social media that you've maybe heard about, but we conducted a survey a couple of years ago, and bottom line, connecting with your clients, communicating with them regularly is important. So this survey that we conducted, we asked close to 700 clients of financial advisors, and we are actually repeating this survey as we speak. It's collecting responses, so we'll have new data to share very soon. But we asked what do clients really want to hear from their advisors? And we got a few proof points on the screen here. So the two most important factors for people in choosing their advisor: number one, a deep understanding of me and my goals. I don't think you can get that without some kind of communication. And then number two, customer service and communication. Relatively lesser on this scale, that green bar for website, blogs, and social media, relatively it's at the bottom of this table, but it makes me think that anywhere from 2 to 3 out of 10 clients are seriously vetting an advisor's online presence to see what they're sharing and what they're saying. And so this is just 2 out of 3 people said it's one of the most important factors for them. On the right side, this visual is a little jarring, in my opinion. Among individuals with less than $500,000 managed by their advisor, 69% said that they were contacted infrequently or very infrequently. And the figure for clients with over 500K being managed by their advisor is about half. So there's a disconnect here between the left and the right-hand side of this slide. And now talking about some more data from this survey, it's a safe assumption to say that as an advisor, you want your clients to be confident in the plans that you've created for them, and you want them to stick with you, right? You want to retain them as a client. And we found that 63% of individuals said more frequent, more personalized contact would give them more confidence in that financial plan. And that number is 77% for individuals under the age of 50. So think about what that means for this trend over time and into the future. And then on the right-hand side, very resoundingly, 85% of clients, 8 or 9 out of 10, told us that communication style and frequency is something they consider when weighing if they should retain their advisor or look elsewhere. So once again, there can be some real business implications from your communication strategy, from your marketing strategy. And Diana.
Yeah, I love that, Connor. I follow Carl Richards, so some of you might know who he is. He's the chief brand officer at Elements, and also, very well known for his work in the New York Times. He's the sketch guy. He creates really simple sketches, and we actually did a partnership with him at Snappy Kraken. But he posted something yesterday that I just can't stop thinking about. And he said that it's not about investment returns, it's about investor returns, right? So everything you just said, Connor, right? 69% of people are saying my advisor's not communicating with me enough frequently. Well, it's when you think about investor returns, what are you returning back to them besides the investment returns? The emotional is what I'm speaking of here, right? How are you being available to them? How are you constantly adding value in the relationship? Aside from the once a year annual meeting or the surge meetings that you might be holding, these are really big problems to think about, and the reality that a lot of us are up against when it comes to not being in touch or being in touch enough with our clients. Now, when we've started, over the years, seeing advisors adopt tools to help them market more, to help them be more frequently in communication, we started to notice a trend with, set it and forget it, right? All these new marketing tools, companies, offerings. Hey, with us, you just push a few buttons, you're done, and you walk away. And that all sounds really attractive to advisors. Why? Because you're running a business. And when you can automate something, you can certainly scale and you can run your business more, and you can do the things as a financial advisor that really nourish you more. Most advisors have told me, I'm not nourished by creating content. So you automate, you set it, you forget it, but then you regret it. And that's not what we want. Why is that happening? Well, in a world where automation, right, everything is becoming automated now. In a world where automation takes over, the only thing left to connect to is that human component, is the emotional. Your content needs to really foster that. So when you think about automating, whether you're doing it on your own or you're looking at tools in the space, the biggest thing I want you to ask yourself is the content on this platform, is it quality or is it quantity focused? Do they care more about the technology than they do the actual content? And if your answer is yes, then you really want to think twice, because marketing is not about automation. Marketing is about engagement. Marketing is about creating relationships. You can only do that if you're automating content that's of quality. that's visually stunning, that's also what I like to call visually digestible, right? I can look at this chart and easily understand it, not I need to read through this 10-page white paper about stocks and bonds, and I'm so not interested in that, right? That's why people are traditionally turned off to this industry. But when you have content that actually speaks to them, that's relevant to their needs, that's gentle and kind and strikes those emotional conversations and evokes that curiosity and makes them want to connect with it, even further want to share it with friends and family, that's when you start doing marketing right. So again, we can't just set it and forget it. We will end up regretting it. Make sure if you're automating, folks, I would rather see you automate once a month than twice a week with bad content. So just make sure you're automating the right kind of content.
Excellent.
So let's talk about now how to really break down a marketing strategy. Okay, we've talked a little bit about automation, the current state of advisor marketing. What are some of the challenges we're seeing, and what are some of the really important reasons why you should be a little bit more invested in your communication and your marketing strategy? We're going to break that down now. If you have a pen and paper, get it out. This is a great time for you to take some notes. We actually have a PDF version of what I'm going to walk you through. We call it the one-page marketing plan. And if you don't have a pen and paper now, don't worry. Let's just go through it together. We'll send you that plan as a follow-up in an email after the webinar. But another thing I'll say is, well, as we go through, what we're going to do is we're really going to break apart your marketing strategy. We're going to assess, we're going to diagnose, and then we're going to create a real plan for moving forward. If you don't have any numbers on you today, it is totally okay. All right, so we're going to start with the first section of our plan, and that is lead generation. And the reason we're starting here is because when you think about your marketing strategy or funnel, if you will, it always starts with lead generation. You need to fill the pipeline so you can actually have people to continue engaging with. And your pipeline might be an email pipeline. Your pipeline might be a text message marketing pipeline. Your pipeline might be a newsletter subscriber pipeline. It really depends on you and your goals. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about your prospect size, your prospect list size. That's your pipeline. And then we're going to talk about how fast your pipeline is growing every month. So let's assess here. I want you to write down, how many prospects do you have on a list today? It's 50, 100, 250. These could be people that you've met along the years. They've come to your dinner seminars when you were hosting those client events. They've opted in on your website. You might have a lot of different channels of lead gen for your business. Having more than 3 is really important. Having at least 3 or more is very, very important. The data shows. But write that number in. Here's our rule of thumb. And a lot of this data, guys, is based on all the campaigns we launch at Snappy Kraken, the thousands of advisors we work with, and what we get to do with that data. So this is, you're lucky in that we're not just basing it off 1 or 2 advisors, we're basing it off of real data, millions of data points from advisors marketing. Under 500, your prospect list needs a little work. I still think 200, 300 is a great start. But if it's under 500, let's just say, maybe we'll start to think about some lead gen strategies for your business. And we're going to talk about that. 500 to 1,000, this is a good start. This is a really good start. In fact, some of the most successful advisors using Snappy Kraken come in, and at that point, at that phase of having that size, they start getting results really quickly. Over 1,000, you're in a really great place. And drop a comment or a question, because I want to know what your strategies are. I'm sure all the other advisors would love to hear it too. But now let's focus on the right-hand side of this plan section. And we're going to talk about how many new leads you're getting a month. So again, you might have different lead channels. You might have client events. You might do media interviews. You might be associated with certain networks for advisors that give you leads every month. XY Planning Network, for example. If you're under 15 new leads a month, you could use a little bit of work. Of course, I'm going to leave the statement here. I know how hard that is as a business owner to even get 15. If you're doing that, good for you. But this is a rule of thumb, again, based on data, where we know you'll be set in a really good place to continue squeezing the juice out of your marketing strategy, converting and growing those relationships. 15 to 30, good start. If you're getting more than 30 leads a month, again, please pop in the Q&A box. Let us know what you're doing. It is an excellent, excellent lead flow for you, and your pipeline is growing every month. So let's go on to section 2. Section 2 is about automation, but it's also about timely content. So I put these two together for a reason. And some of the things that we were just discussing, right? You can't just automate anything, but we know it's a table stake for advisors if you want to be successful. I want you to write in what current automations you might have in your business. So maybe your business is, automating your client experience, right, in some sort of way. Or maybe you're automating when someone opts in on your website in some sort of way, they're getting some automatic follow-up. Write those in. Before we talk about which ones you need to set up, let me give some rules of thumb here again. At the very least, you should have an automation built out every time you cross a new prospect, whether it's in person or digitally, and you collect that contact information. That should be your number one goal when you speak with prospects. You want to have an automated campaign that gradually builds on the value of working with you, or on the value of a specific financial topic they're interested in. You could have different automations built out. But if you're starting at 0 and you need just one, that's going to be our most standardized, let's say evergreen, right? Content automation technology for you is focusing on who am I? Let's get personal. Maybe you put a video in there. Maybe it runs for 8 weeks long. And on week 3, your video is in there and you're introducing yourself even more personally, et cetera, et cetera. And then I want you to think about your clients. What I'm about to say now, when I share this with most advisors, it's like, oh my gosh, this is an aha moment for me, because I didn't even think about doing something like this. But you can completely automate your new client onboarding experience. Okay, what I mean by that is when you get a brand new client, there's plenty of things you're doing in the background, account transfers, you're moving money around, you're talking to different platforms and financial companies on their behalf. But what are you doing for them in that moment that creates that emotional connection in their first, call it 90 days of working with you? Beyond that first meeting, beyond them signing the agreement with you, what are you doing along that way to make sure they're having a warm and fuzzy experience? You can automate that. You can have a 90-day new client onboarding campaign. And in that campaign, again, week 1, you're telling them, welcome, thank you for being a new client. You're family to us. Maybe you have a picture of the team. Week 3, again, maybe it's a video of yourself. Week 5, follow us on social. We're posting content on our blog, on our website, on our social media platforms. We know that you would love this content. It's super valuable, et cetera, et cetera. So what you do with this, folks, is not only do you get to automate the experience for one, but you now automate the experience for all, and you create a consistent client experience. Consistent is the key word there. That is how you build a brand, because every time someone engages with you, they're having that consistently positive experience. So now I want you to write in, based on that, what automations you need to set up. So I just gave you 2 ideas. There's so many more, but at the very least, if you don't have any of those set up, write that in. Any ideas that you might have as well around it based on some of what I shared. And then we're going to focus over on the right for timely content. And I have actually a question here in the box from Nikki. Doesn't it matter the size of the business regarding number of leads? Absolutely. Absolutely. It matters the size of the business. It matters how long you've been in business. It matters what you're doing. It matters what your reputation is like. It matters who's in the business. Right? People are connecting with people more than they are with businesses or companies at this point. All of those things matter. This is a general rule of thumb. Let's call it for advisors on average who are managing anywhere from 200 to 500 million in assets under management, or if you're fee only, advice only, this can be very applicable to you, 100 households, if you will. That's a great question, Nikki. Now we're going to focus on timely content, because when you have the automations and the table stakes set up, and you have those in place for every new prospecting client, well, now I want you to think about, where are you adding value for them beyond that? And is it timely? We introduced a timely email series in 2020 at Snappy Kraken when markets and the world felt like it was all crashing, and it was in many ways. Those were the most engaged with pieces of content we had ever created at Snappy Kraken. And we've created some really good content that's gotten some really good engagement. And all they were was simple emails. Simple emails, no beautiful colors, no blocks. It doesn't need to have such a polished marketing look. It was just a text-based email. And advisors were pouring in and saying, I've never had this many responses before. So timely content is proven. It's timely in a sense that you're talking about something happening in the world, but it goes further than that and creates that emotional connection because you're giving your honest human opinion on it. It doesn't have to be all financial, but you're giving your opinion on it. Further, you're asking them for theirs. And then you're even sharing things to lift them up, right? We have a campaign called the Silver Linings of Uncertainty. And I'm going to talk about that later. It's one of the examples I have for you because it's performed so well. But it just, again, it speaks to, I'm a human advisor, I'm an emotional advisor, and I'm your financial advisor wrapped up in a timely email. We recommend at least one timely content piece a month. I'd love to know, what have you done in the last 90 days, for example? And then think about what can you do in the next 90 days. If you haven't done any timely content, maybe we set a goal here for one piece of timely content in the next 90 days, at least, right? We want to set reasonable goals. Okay, now we're going to go on to the third section. So we're breaking it down. We've talked about lead gen, we've talked about automations, timely content. Now we're going to look at section 3, which is all about looking at your data and setting goals. I'm actually going to focus on the right-hand side first. I don't expect any of you to have a lot of this information. In fact, if you did, I'd be really delightfully surprised because most of us have our data scattered a little bit everywhere. But think about over the last 90 days, how many new leads have you gotten? What's been your email open rate? Rule of thumb there, I met an advisor last week in person who shared that his average email open rate boomed. It really skyrocketed from about 25% to about 50% when he started using some really effective content. That is massive. Industry standards, and not even just industry marketing standards, right? When we look at averages, 10, 15%, trailing okay. You start to hit over that, 25, 30. I mean, this guy was at 50, which is astronomical to me. That's when you start to see, okay, clearly my content is resonating with these people. So think about, what's your email open rate been? Those rules of thumb. Email responses. These are things to guide you. These are important feedback points that guide you in your marketing. If someone takes the time to respond to an email, again, clearly you struck a chord. What about your content struck that chord? Most marketing tools or even companies, right? They're not necessarily thinking a lot about email responses as much as email open rate, but there's a lot of validity in you getting email responses and knowing this is the kind of content I should continue driving forward. Booked appointments, new clients, and referrals. Write all those things in, and then we're going to move over to the left here for a second before we even get to the goals for the next 90 days. Because now I want you to see, what is your big opportunity? Based on what we've talked about, is your big opportunity lead generation, right? If you want to fill your pipeline more, okay, awesome. I want you to write that down. It might be, I need to stay in more touch with my clients based on what Connor shared. Write that down. And then below that, I want you to think of some concrete action steps. Yes, there are tools like Snappy Kraken and YCharts to help you be better communicators. And we're going to show you some examples, but think about other things too. You know, if lead gen is your goal, think about a client event. Ask your clients to bring a friend that they know could leverage and use your support and your help and your guidance and expertise. Right? I, again, talked to an advisor a few weeks ago who was on my webinar, and she said, I'm hosting my first client event, but this time I told everyone to bring someone. I have just as many clients as I do prospects showing up to that event. Powerful, powerful way to build that pipeline. If client engagement is your big opportunity, think about your action step. Can you do that one timely content piece a month? What does that look like? Is it a simple email? Is it a video if you're good on video and you like doing video and that nourishes you? Again, going back to that. Write those things in. Whatever those action steps might be, I want us to tie them into some goals for the next 90 days, right? So think about maybe if you got 5 new leads in the last 90 days, can we bump that up to 8 for the next 90 days? Okay, if your email open rate's been trending around 10 to 15%, maybe we look at implementing some strategies, again, the client engagement, the lead gen, the client events that might start to increase that a bit. Maybe we get to 25%. Let's make them reasonable, right? A 10% increase in all of these fields, if you will, is very reasonable. Booked appointments, new clients, and referrals. We're going to move on to the last section here. The last section is another section where advisors have a lot of struggle. Why? Because you may not necessarily be marketing savvy enough to understand if you want to run some of this stuff in-house, and you should never 100% outsource to one thing or one tool or one company. I'm here to tell you that, and I'm here on behalf of Snappy Kraken, who I love and think all of you should use, but you should do some things in-house. DIY content goes really, really far, and it helps your brand as well. But this is where they say, well, I want to do some content, but I have no idea what the process looks like. I mean, who do I hire? What kind of support do I need? Where do you find a designer? There's a lot of amazing interns out there. FYI, that's a top kept secret for most advisors. Go chase some interns that would love to help you craft your messaging. But we break that down into 4 roles in marketing. This is as simple as it's going to get. In your firm, I want you to think about who can research content ideas. Who can research it? It might be you. If you're a one-person shop, one-man band, one-woman firm, it might be you. And that's okay. In fact, you might write yourself in all 4 of these sections. At least you acknowledge that now, and you know what different content hats you have to wear. So write in who's going to do my research. Who enjoys doing that? Then I want you to think about, now that the research is there and we have some really cool topics and ideas and inspiration based on data, who's actually going to write the emails? Who's going to write the social posts? Who's going to write the blog? Again, it might be you. Write that down, because whoever's doing the research may not necessarily be doing the writing. Those are 2 different skills sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. And then I want you to think about the next phase. Now that you've got that piece of content written, does it need design? Who's going to design it? Who's going to take that content and organize it in a way that is understandable and digestible, and that is formatted into the mediums and channels that your audience is consuming your content, whether that's a desktop or a mobile app or an iPad, right? We know there's a lot of data there. In fact, most people are using mobile over desktop. Let's make sure your design person can create content in a way that is applicable to those channels. Okay, and finally, number 4, tech ops. This sounds way more fancy than it is. But remember, with automation, you're using a technology. You need someone to actually click the button, schedule the content, and run that calendar for you. Furthermore, you need that person to take the data that technology is going to show you after the fact, after that email went out, that social post went out, and help you understand what it means so that you can make more informed, better marketing decisions moving forward. Harvard Business Review says that only 8% of business owners are good at both strategy and execution. Only 8%. So you're not struggling, right? Stop with the imposter syndrome. We all have it, but the reality is we can't do it all. Team is important. So looking at this, just realize that and remember that. I might help with strategy or I might help with execution, but I can't necessarily do both on my own as a business owner. I need some help. Think about these 4 main roles in your marketing strategy and in your marketing team. Okay, we're going to move along. And we're going to hit the next slide. And Connor, I'm going to let you take this one away.
Yeah. Can you see, are you still seeing section 4 or did we advance?
So we advanced. There we go. We advanced.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. I mean, I learned so much, even though Diane and I went through these slides together. I just learned so much hearing your actual, your perspectives on it, Diana. So thank you. To kind of tie into that and speak to how YCharts fits into that equation. going back to Diana's point, investment returns versus investor returns. I love that. At YCharts, the core of our platform is that investment piece, but there's so much more that you can do when you look at a client's portfolio and how it's done over time, or where the inflation rate stands, or where the major averages stand. But YCharts just really accelerates and makes that process so efficient, really on that timely content piece. And we also think about this as timely broadcast communication. What's something that you're maybe sending to all of your clients or everyone that follows you on social media or newsletter, and then that timely narrowcast communication. So you might just have some group of clients or some clients who require different information or different attention based on their financial situation. And so here, when you have their portfolio data in YCharts, it's great to be able to just, here's how your portfolio is doing. Whatever you heard about the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, let's talk about you and your situation. So just one very high level example here with YCharts. You can see what's going on via dashboards and a lot of our screeners to see what's going on with major market averages. Maybe anticipate having to discuss a market pullback with clients in upcoming meetings. So do a little prep to identify what those root causes are. And then you can check out economic data or treasury rates, any of those factors that may be impacting what a particular stock or ETF or mutual fund is doing, what the market overall is doing. And then you can create those personalized branded visuals, both for that one-on-one conversation and for a newsletter, a blog, or social. I think that something important here is we've heard from the advisors that we work with, my clients are going to the internet to answer their questions anyway. So do you want them to see something that you posted and that has your thoughts, or some random person on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram? Just having something available is what's going to be, answering those questions when people have them.
Love that.
And then also, we know that it's not necessarily easy, right? We've talked about where automation might be best utilized, where it might be a little bit more of a manual process to create content. But I definitely want to brag about how YCharts makes all of this very easy and automated. We've put a big emphasis on pre-built templates, ready to share content throughout the platform. So shown on the right, we have all of these pre-built templates. You can just plug in a security name and it builds out a situation, a scenario, or like an economic stress test for you. Our blog is an excellent resource with articles. If you're just wondering, what is a timely communication that I could be sending out? What might my clients be asking about? Then going to places like Snappy Kraken or YCharts to see what we're posting about might help inform your next topic that you write a blog about or send an email about. And then finally, customizations. Our email reports tool lets you build out a custom daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly update with market data, with your own portfolio data. And that's super easy to forward that on to your clients, just so that you always have your thumb on what's happening in the market and with those model portfolios if you're using them. Okay, so those are some of the tools that maybe could be behind these campaigns, but passing it back to Diana to talk about some campaigns that she's seen particularly effective in the industry.
Awesome. Thank you, Connor. And it looks like we had a couple questions come in. I just was typing and answering some. Bob just came in and says, what is Snappy Kraken? Sorry, I came late in the meeting. Bob, no worries at all. We actually didn't really go over and deep dive into Snappy Kraken. We're an automated growth program built for advisors. We help you connect to prospects and clients. And we're talking about on this webinar, the emotional connection, the importance of that, as well as the timeliness of your content, the relevancy of your content, and what's in it for them, right? When you're trying to target your audience, it's got to have something in it for them. So this is a perfect segue to the example campaigns to model. So I just chose two. We just put out a report, our top 8 performing campaigns, but I knew we wouldn't have time to go through all of them. So let's flip to the first one. And let me help you understand, first and foremost, before you start creating content, and you start leveraging some of these insights we're about to share and some of the ones we've already shared, I really want you to think about what mediums it make the most sense for you. As an advisor, depending on who your audience is, how, what their ages are, what their affinities and interests are, what their psychographics are. It's not just demographics, it is psychographics as well, right? What are their desires? What keeps them up at night? All of these things can point to what mediums we should be hanging out on, if you will, right? If you're targeting baby boomers, Facebook's a great place to be. If you're targeting, CEOs and career people, business owners, LinkedIn's a wonderful place to be. You might have a voice for radio, or face for radio, as they say, but you really might have that voice for radio, and you might think about the podcast. Email is a no-brainer. It's still the highest converting channel as of today. So that one's a table stake, but think about where you want to be. You don't have to be everywhere. Okay, I'm about keeping it simple. That's the whole purpose of the one-page marketing plan. Keep it simple. Choose one social platform, stick to email, and maybe you do a podcast. That's okay. Now I know that's a lot easier said than done, but now we're going to move into some ideas that might inspire you. These are a couple of our top performing campaigns in the last 12 months. This first one is the lead gen on hidden tax opportunities that are likely to expire. Any content that our advisors put out that we create about tax, it's always going to be a top performer. So if that's a nugget for you to take away, tax content always performs best for us. But what's different about this is there's sort of an urgency that's being created, right? Hey, there's some things you need to know right now. In fact, 5 opportunities you need to take advantage of right now before they expire, right? Based on tax laws and tax rules. So it creates urgency. That's definitely part of what makes it so successful. There's also an eye-catching design. You can't see it all that clearly, but what you're not seeing here, folks, is your standard tax return, tax statement picture with, the words written on top. We've done that before, but we knew, again, as we all evolve with marketing, it's going to take more than that. So it's something that almost throws them off a little bit. Like, what is this? Okay, there's 5 in tax opportunity. All right, they're expiring. And I like the way this looks. All that ties together to create success. How many emails did we send on this campaign? What's our email open rate? 300,000 emails, specifically 306,380 sent, 25.5% average email open rate. Pretty high for this campaign. We're going to move on to the second one. And by the way, if I were you, if I were an advisor and I used a campaign like that and I got a bunch of leads in the door, I would then follow up with them with campaigns that are, again, based on taxes, even if it's just a simple email. The second is silver linings of uncertainty. This is a newsletter that I had talked about earlier, and it's one of those newsletters, these are how all of our newsletters are, that is sort of pretty unique. It's a reboot on what most advisors are sharing in their newsletter, which is heavily focused on market performance. This is more talking about, hey, the bright side of uncertainty and what that can do to your life. Yes, there's a financial lesson tied in, there always is, but it's entertaining and it's educational. Our top performing newsletter of all time, it's not this one, of all time, it is Celebrity Money Mistakes, which most of you might be thinking, I'm never going to share content on celebrity money mistakes, but that's the edutainment, right, that people want, that people love. So that's what we're doing with our newsletters. It builds that emotional connection. 306,000 emails sent, 31.5% email open rate. Pretty high. So we'll move along at this point. Yeah, it's a good average across that many emails being sent.
Crazy.
I'm gonna wrap us up with 2 last statements here. We've talked a bit about relevancy in your content, right? If I'm a woman and I'm going through a divorce, I might want some resources on how to handle the financial situation of that. The content you produce on that is what's going to be relevant to me. That's what I mean by that. Well, we know what's relevant to me might not be relevant to somebody else that could be a potential client for you. We all go through different transitions in our life. Of course, this is where niche advisors have a lot of success, but not every advisor is perfectly niche, and neither do you have to be. But the purpose of this is having other campaigns, other offers that are relevant to other people. if somebody doesn't convert on that tax campaign, they're not interested in what you have to say on that, or that silver lining newsletter, just, they read it, but they didn't really engage. But then you start hitting them with something else, like the market drops and they're feeling that loss in their portfolio. You hit them with an investor recovery report. That might be what moves the needle for them, right? That's why we don't give up on prospects. If the email is still working, the phone number is valid, keep marketing to them, but try different things, because it might not be, again, that one campaign or campaign topic, financial topic, was of interest to them, but you have content around other financial topics. That's how we continue to give new value and new offers to our list. Again, taxes, women. I might be a woman going through financial breakthroughs, and I want to hear a little bit more about those money blocks from a financial advisor. Top right-hand corner. Try new offers. Now, the next slide I thought was particularly powerful to show, because this is the value, folks, in partnering with a strong content partner, where you can get that diversification of your marketing portfolio a lot faster and a lot easier while you still run your business. We know that one campaign is only going to get you so much of your results from your pipeline. Again, we want to squeeze the juice out of our opportunity when it comes to marketing. We looked at our campaigns last year. Our top performing one, how scams fool smart people and how to avoid being taken, only got 29% of the volume of the traffic, right? And then the next one, 20, and the next one, 11 and 11, and so on. The point that I'm making here is diversify. Diversify your content library with different topics, because not everyone is going to convert on the same thing. Not everyone's going to connect to the same type of topic. And when you do this, right, you sort of hedge your risk, if you will. The same things you're coaching your clients with applies here, and you can reach more people and you can squeeze more juice out of your marketing efforts. So Connor, I don't know if we had any other slides here left for you, or I think we're hopping right into the Q&A, but that wraps it up for me. So excited I got to be here and share all these insights with everyone. And if there are questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diana. Like I said, I'm learning as we're going. This has been an awesome, 40 minutes. First question for you, Diana, could you just tell us about this Snappy Kraken offer going on right now through the end of the year, I think?
Totally. So the end of the year is the best possible time that advisors get to kind of sit back and they can create a strategy for their business. And that's what a lot of them are doing. Again, marketing usually being at the bottom of the list, maybe at this point, sort of at the middle of the list as it's gaining more popularity. But we want to help you right now, because we know that if you get a plan in place now and you start creating your vision for your marketing, what channels you want to show up on, how we can help you with that, then come January, when you're ready to hit the ground running, you're actually hitting the ground running. So we have a 90-day trial starting now for $99. You are not locked in. If in that trial you find this is not the tool for you, there's plenty of tools out there. There's some great tools out there. That's okay. You don't have to stick around. But if you find, and I'm confident that you will, that it is the best tool that you could possibly have in your business as an advisor, then after that, you can start paying your monthly price. And that is a year agreement. But yes, $99, 90 days, head to snappykraken.com, anywhere along that page, simply fill out the form, hit the button to contact our team or for a personalized demo, and that's going to get you started.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely I know someone joined and wasn't as familiar with Snappy Kraken, but this is a really awesome offer to take advantage of. Like you said, trying it out, get very little commitment for a lot of value now through the end of the year. And you can do the same thing on YCharts.com, by the way. Start a free trial and start playing around with the tool, explore how it works for you and for your business. To kind of wrap things up here, want to say thank you again to Diana for taking the time to share her knowledge with us. Wish you all the best of luck through the end of the year. And Diana, any closing comments from you?
The work that you all do is so important. It is very noble. I want more people to know that's what's in it for me. That's where my passion comes from. You deserve to have an amazing brand. You deserve to have an amazing marketing strategy, an amazing communications plan, and so do your clients. Let's work together on that. again, we appreciate what you do for the world. It's meaningful work. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you from YCharts, and happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween. Bye-bye.